And that topic is the OpenAI wars. And regarding this is the clash of two titans. Not only Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, the company that is perhaps the most valuable AI company right now, makers of ChatGPT, and Elon Musk, who is, very, let's say, upset with Sam Altman for all the promises that he broke. Now, back in 2015, which was coincidentally the year that OpenAI was founded as a non-profit, remember that will be important later on. I remember that I was still giving lectures and in classes. I was still in college as a professor. And one of the topics I like to talk about was foreseeing the future, and the topic of AI popped up a lot. Even if, it's OpenAI wasn't even founded yet, but I told my students I'm going to tell you how this is going to work. This is not like every company. Okay, we need a server for our emails, and every company has their own email server. No. Or maybe you have, you sell fruits and you have a truck to sell fruits, and every fruit vendor has their own truck. No. This is a bit different. In regards to AI, it's not like every company can have their own AI server as they have their email server, for privacy. No, that is not possible because the scope and scale that you need in terms of the amount of chips to, have actual AI is massive. So I told my students back then in 2015, that this was my prediction, is that you will have 2 or 3, let's say, mammoths, like behemoths, I don't know, something really big, companies. It could be Microsoft, it could be IBM. Imagine IBM or Microsoft, in this case, would be closer to Microsoft. Remember, OpenAI signed a deal with Microsoft so they could take advantage of the infrastructure, the Azure infrastructure of Microsoft. So Microsoft is going to develop this monstrous platform so every company can outsource their AI services from that main platform. That is the only way, both from an energy perspective and from an infrastructure perspective. A company cannot simply do that. So it's easier if a company just plugs into what ChatGPT is, and they use ChatGPT. Of course, you have privacy concerns because it means that ChatGPT is going to be able to read your, how to say this, all your company's knowledge, which it's very sensitive in terms of privacy, and maybe even learn from your company's knowledge. The original idea of OpenAI will be to develop a model in which was open source, hence the word open from OpenAI, and everybody could use it and everybody could take advantage of it. In fact, for all that Mark Zuckerberg is evil, and he is, the lizard, all that he has done, Meta released their own, let's say, infrastructure that you could download empty without any training to your computer and use that for yourself, okay, if you have enough computing power. But sometimes you want more computing power than that, and then that's when you need to be somebody to host that server. But that was OpenAI's original mission in 2015. But 3 or 4 years later, this happened. I mentioned the chips, and I mentioned the energy, and all that costs a lot of money to operate. And if you are a non-profit, it is a bit hard to, be able to sustain yourself as a company if you have this demand for energy and this demand for chips that are quite expensive, and you need this huge architecture that costs a lot of money. So in 2019, OpenAI opened a subsidiary that was for profit, okay? We're still OpenAI. We're still talking about OpenAI, in which Elon Musk invested $50 million, by the way. That's the start of OpenAI, because Elon Musk wanted this to be open for all humanity. The idea of the mission of OpenAI at the start was to develop artificial intelligence to help humanity. Okay? That has been, quote unquote, the mission from the start. But then this subsidiary was for profit for what? To be able to sell services at a profit and use those profits capped, okay, with a certain cap, until certain cap, to be able to reinvest on the infrastructure. So it was like a double business back then. But now, what are the OpenAI wars? Sam Altman, this guy that you see next to Elon Musk, he wants, the problem is that the board of directors of OpenAI, the non-profit original company, still oversees operations of the for-profit subsidiary. What Sam Altman wants is to buy that board of directors' stake on the subsidiary, so he can essentially have uncapped potential to grow. Okay, essentially is unleashing, is cutting the leash on the for-profit part of OpenAI. Yes, OpenAI is still leashed. It's still on a leash. Okay, imagine that. It is a monster that is valued, if I remember correctly, in around 200 or 300 billion. The company itself. So, what would happen if Sam Altman? Sam Altman would become essentially insanely rich because of this, because of the way that he has organized, of course, that to benefit himself in terms of money. But at the same time, the mission of OpenAI of helping humanity would be effectively second place, if there's a second place for that. So they will absolutely focus on the profits. What did Elon Musk do, and why are you seeing those 97 billion going around? Elon Musk essentially threw a wrench into these negotiations, making a public offer of $97 billion for that non-profit stake. Right? I'm trying to simplify that. So for me, it's a bit hard to understand, but he is offering that so Sam Altman cannot have full control of OpenAI for profit. It's like, if by any chance the group, it's not only Elon Musk, he had to, gather a couple of friends and say, hey, you know what, we need to make an offer, and the offer was a bit more than $97 billion, only for the stake of the nonprofit. This is not even the entirety of OpenAI, but that would essentially stall every negotiation. Meanwhile, they devise another thing. All this, why is this so important? Why am I putting so much stress on this? Because it is obvious that despite the 200,000 chips that Elon Musk bought from NVIDIA is the company that makes the AI chips, and he built in record time this monstrous campus with all these chips to feed Grok, which is a AI, Twitter's AI, so to speak. Then he says, hey, you know what? He is the only close contender to make sure that OpenAI doesn't actually take over the world. Why? What do I mean by taking over the world? Is having unfettered access to all that data that I'm talking about. Because if OpenAI is the biggest player in the world, if OpenAI gets to have an essentially monopoly, you know that whoever has a monopoly gets to dictate the rules of the game. And you would say, wait a minute, Jesus, but Microsoft has gotten into trouble by monopolistic practices in the past. Yeah, but there's a thing that the United States, as the country, as the government, Trump knows. And Elon Musk knows at the same time that they have to win the AI race against China. This is like the space race from the 60s, but in this case is the AI race. Not to measure, this is not, pardon my language, this is not a cock measuring contest like it was back in the space race. Let's see who gets to the moon faster. It was because it was pretty much there was no real utility to that. Maybe there was utility to the technology they devised and afterwards, but getting to the moon, it was not that useful. It's just beating the Russians to the race. That was what the United States wanted to do. But right now we're talking about the main infrastructure in which the services that millions of companies around the world could use. And do you want those companies to fall behind because they don't want to use China's infrastructure? And I would understand if they don't want to use China's infrastructure, they want to use infrastructure in the United States. But at the same time, you don't want a single company in the United States having access, unfettered access to everything as a for-profit company. These are the AI wars. Not a shot has been shot. This is not the Terminator. This is not Skynet. But yeah, it's very complicated because what are the implications of this? The implications of this is we are moving from, the first industrial revolution, then we move into the knowledge revolution. And that's why, for example, countries like South Korea could grow their economy so fast because of the knowledge economy. And now we're moving into the AI economy. And that AI implies artificial general intelligence, which is the next step. We, at least that I know, we have not arrived there yet. But the moment artificial general intelligence is developed, that would be a game changer in terms of productivity, in terms of edge that every company, every individual will have. It would, your capacity, our capacity as humans will be, well, essentially, if right now ChatGPT can multiply our output tenfold at the very least, somebody who really knows how to use ChatGPT can multiply his output 30 times. With AGI, that multiply could be 100 times, 200 times. One person will be able to do the job of 100 people, 200 people. I'm not exaggerating. This is a thing. So imagine the amount of productivity, despite the fears of people that could lose their jobs. That I think that J.D. Vance addressed that on today's summit in Paris. It's important to understand that the economy of the countries depend on this. And at some point, as it is like when one country depends on the energy of its neighbor who built nuclear power, and our country, for example, you have country A and you have country B, and country A doesn't have enough energy, and country B thought about building like 10 nuclear plants and can sell energy and electricity to country A. Yeah, that's the thing. In this case, it's access to the most cutting-edge technology in the world. So the question is, who is going to win that race in terms of countries? It is China or it is the United States? Is it OpenAI who's going to be in full control of the market, in full control of that brutal mega horse that is AGI? Or you want it at least that power spread between people? I know that we are talking about billionaires, people with immense power, and some of you don't like billionaires. I can completely understand that, but in my science fiction, soul, I know that this is a step, a brutal step, a giant step for humanity. And we need to get this sorted out. Because the difference between the United States and China is that in China, you know that they are essentially everything is controlled by the CCP. And it's like, it's like a king that says, well, we're going to work this way and everything is aligned around the CCP. But you don't want that in the United States. You want some kind of, healthy competition, but at the same time, want to win the race. It's interesting, right? Interesting conundrum. For me, this is fascinating. I could talk about this. It shows, right? I could talk about this topic for hours. But as this OpenAI wars move on, I will keep you updated. If you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the comments, because I love to know. I'd love to know what do you think about this in the comments.